I'm not sure whether we're live yet or not. Oh, yes, looks like we are. Hello, Vicky. Hello. Thank you for joining me. Right, I'm looking to try and I can't see my messages here. No, that's no good. I've lost that now. Oh, dear me, what's happened there? I certainly don't want that. Let's come out of there completely. Let's come back in here. Get rid of that. Bear with me. I will be with you in a second. Good evening, Amanda. Good evening. I can see the comments now. They're coming through. Right, just let me take a drink. Non-alcoholic. So, right. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes. I can see there's a few people joining us. Please come on and say hello, and then we'll get going. I feel a bit of a mess tonight. I've been so busy today. Haven't really had the chance to do anything with my face or my hair, so I apologise and I'll come down quickly. Right, so I think what I'll do is I'll come down and we can have a look at... Good evening, Beryl. Thank you very much for joining us. So I'm going to bring this down and then hopefully you'll have to look at my hair that's in desperate need of being having a little bit of TLC on it and my face. Right, okay, so the Coffee and Craft we did a week or so ago, we focused on, let me just bring this one over, we focused on making the folio, and since then I have put in one side. So we've got a flap holding it all together, we've got a flap opening up there, we've got a deep pocket there, and we've got another flap opening up there. And what we're going to do today is exactly the same on this side. So rather than show it to you twice, I've got it once completed and we're going to do it there. But I'm not going to do it on this one because I've also got this one where I have actually decorated this side so that you get a better picture of what it looks like when it's all decorated. So we've got a flap there. Now this is the only thing that's going to be different on that side, and I'll explain as we go along. So we've got a magnet there, and that's holding everything in place. So then I've done a photo slots there. I've got a little tuck spot there, and here I've got two more tuck spots. I haven't got around to actually putting anything in those yet. I've got a tuck spot there and one there, but then I've also got space for photos there and a space for a photo there, and then I've made a I don't think it's a back wing. I'm trying to think what it was, but anyway, I've made a pocket there. So apart from the fact that I haven't actually put any tags in, that side is now complete. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on that side, and there's only going to be two differences. This one will open this way, so this opens, come on Sarah, that's it. This opens that way, so this is going to open in the other direction. But apart from that, and what we're going to do with this, everything else, cat's whiskers, it reminds me of them. Yes, it is a Cool Cats one. I just, off the top of my head, I can't remember which one it was. I don't think I've got it in here. It wasn't that one, so it must have been that one. No, it wasn't that one either. Isn't it annoying? When you, 1 minute you got it. I took it with me to the workshop. It wasn't that one. Oh, goodness me. It wasn't that one. See, it now becomes, I've got to be able to tell you what it was. Oh. No, I can't put my finger on it right this second. It'll be in there somewhere, but I can't put my finger on it right this second. Right, so we're going to work on this side. I'm going to do it so that it's facing me, because I'm not very good at anything spatial, and if I don't do it facing me, it's all going to go wrong. So I've cut myself some pieces of card, and the first piece of card I've cut myself is 8 3/4 by 5 1/4. So 8 3/4 by 5 1/4, and this is going to form the 1/2 inch spine across the top there. So you've got an inch spine here. So when you fold them together, you'll have 2 1/2 inch spines there, which will then hold your folio and stop it going flat like that. So 8 3/4 by 5 1/4, and you want it landscape, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Okay, so 1/2 inch and 1 inch, and you're going to fold and burnish those. Okay, so we'll just burnish them. Okay, and just burnish them again. So I hope everyone is looking forward to a nice weekend. I have a craft fair on Sunday. It's been half term this week, so I've been on Nonna duty with my 5-year-old grandson, which has been lovely. He's been to stay for a couple of nights. And we took him to the RAF Museum at Cosford near Wolverhampton. And it was lovely. It was freezing. It was absolutely freezing cold, but it was lovely. So, sorry, I've mitered those corners and I folded those two down. So you can see you've got that other 1/2 inch. So I'm going to put some glue on this mitered edge. Like so. And I'm going to line this up. I'm going to try and eyeball it so that my head isn't in your way. And at the top and the bottom, I'm just going to hold it in place while I just wriggle it about a bit and get it where I want it. Okay, so that's the main one. So if you do that one first, then everything builds from there. And if I close this now, you can see how those two meet at the top and fill that. Okay, so that's your first one in. So you're now going to put, if I do this, you're now going to put something that comes to this side. So you've got this, I can't get it all in, this going out to this side. So now you're going to put something going out to that side. So you will need a piece that is 7 3/4 by 5 3/4. So 7 3/4 by 5 3/4. Now you will need 2 of these. So if you cut it 7 3/4, you will then get 2 pieces, 5 3/4, out of one A4 piece. So I found that out quite by accident, but there you go. That's my little conserving card. And this one, you are going to score portrait. So short side at the top, and you are going to just score at 1/2 inch again. So score at 1/2 inch. Oh man, they're working. 7:30, 3:30 Saturday, and oh my goodness. Oh, but then 3 days off. Oh, that sounds quite good. That sounds much better. I used to, when I worked in retail before I went into teaching, I was a personnel manager, and I used to hate working Saturdays and Sundays. There we go. Now I do tutoring, and I do it in the evening, and I don't like that much either. But there we go. So, well, I hope you have an okay time with working. Right, so this one is then going to go onto there like so. Okay. Where's the dies you were looking for? The Mexicans. Do you know, I think they might have been. I can't believe I can't find them. I certainly have them. They'll be somewhere in this in this mess hole. But yes, they may well have been the Mexican ones. No, I can't remember. Yeah, I think they were the Mexicans. Yes, thank you so much, Beryl. I've got I've got almost all of the Cool Cats dies, and I use them such a lot, but I tend to forget what I've got and what I've used. So I've put some glue along there, and I'm going to line that up. Now, when you line this up, and I should have said this before I did it, but never mind, just before you put it on, just check it. I'm okay, to make sure you haven't got any overhang there. You don't want it to impact that hinge there. Okay, so just be careful that you haven't got any overhang. So I should have checked that before I laid it down, but as it is, I'm okay. So I'm just going to lay that on there. Lift it up very carefully, and then position that onto there, like so. And we'll just give it another burnish. So now you've got a flap going that way and a flap going that way. So your next thing, I'm going to ignore that for a minute, is you're going to have a flap coming out from your base page. So the measurement is the same. So it's 7 3/4 by 5 3/4. And this is going to open up that way. So let me put it all back together again. Do with a bigger screen, really. Okay, so 7 3/4 by 5 3/4, and exactly the same. We're going to put it in portrait, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch. My scoring pen has broken. I've got a new one in the drawer, I just keep forgetting to get it out. So we'll have to use that, but that gives me a thick line, which I don't really like. Okay, so again, fold, 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 and I'm going to burnish that really, really well. So yes, this Sunday I'm in Shrewsbury, and I'm at the Shrewsbury Sports Village with the Craft and Makers Market. I think there are something like 70 stalls there, so it should be a really good craft fair. I've done it a few times and I really enjoy it. Right, so what I want to make sure, so I've made sure it fits, but I also want to make sure that there's no bulk at those mitered edges. So I'm happy that there isn't. If there was, I would just take a little bit more off there, but there's no overlap. So that's worked quite well. So I'm going to pop some glue on here. Like so. Like so. Line that up. So if you are watching, thank you ever so much for watching. I can see I've got quite a few people watching tonight, so thank you. Do come on and say hello. So I'm just going to do that. I'm happy with that. Got a bit of glue coming out there. So I'm just going to, I can always get it off afterwards, but get it off now, that's even better. It's a new pot of glue, a new bottle of glue rather, so it's coming out quite fast. Okay, so that's that one and that one, but what you've got in here is another one that comes up. So we've got that one that comes out, we've got that one that comes out, but we've also got this flippy flappy one here. So we're going to have a flippy flappy one that comes down from here. So this time you want 8 1/4 by 5 1/4. So 8 1/4 by 5 1/4. Now lots of people have been asking me about cutting and scoring guides. Excuse me. Quick drink. I do sometimes do cutting and scoring guides, but I actually find it's better if I write it on there. Then you can see it as you're watching it, and you can see exactly the measurements, and you can see what I do with it. And it saves me some time writing cutting and scoring guides. But please let me know if you think, oh no, I really do need the cutting and scoring guide, and I'll have a look at doing them. But I think it's probably better if it's written on there, because then it's on the video as you're following it. And we're going to score at 1/2 inch that way. Okay, and we're going to do this. Okay, and then this is going to go over the top like that. So I'm just going to take a little bit off each of these, because however I do it, it's going to have to cover the other one. And what I need to do, just measuring it up first, I need to make sure there's no impact for that. So I'm going to put a little bit. So with this one, the main thing is to be aware of what can and might impact on your various hinges. So I'm just going to put that there with the glue, run it across and make sure that that's okay, and that is absolutely fine. Okay, so then I'm going to lift that up and just burnish that into place. Okay, now on the front of this one, let me show you, I've got a deep pocket, so I'm actually going to cut a dimensional pocket to go on the front there. So I have a piece here that is 8 3/4 by 4, and we're going to score it on 3 sides, the 2 short sides and 1 of the long sides, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch. So scoring board one last time. Oops. And I'm going to go 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. And then same as always, into the corner, turn your scissors a little bit, into the corner, turn your scissors a little bit, and then we're going to fold those 3 in, like so. Like so, and this one, like so, and this one, like so. I would suggest you actually spend a bit more time than I have. And then open up the ears. I always call them the ears, and I don't know why I always call them the ears. So, and then I'm just going to pop this on here. Like so. So it's this one that we've just put on. Match it up. Ooh, that's too short. Okay, that's too short. 8 3/4. Have I not done that 8 3/4? Oh, I know. I've done it 7 3/4. Right. Oh, goodness me. Right. It wouldn't be me if I didn't do it wrong, would it? So let me just get a piece of black. Every single time, like a dream, there's always something I get wrong. So let me just get my... Right. So, it is 8 3/4. I just have to have put it at 7 3/4. Okay. So let me pull that out. 8 3/4. Oh, goodness me. By 4. 8 3/4 by 4. Okay, we'll try again. We'll bring this up. And let's do it again. 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and snip, twist, snip, snip, twist, snip. Fold, 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 burnish. Oh dear me, burnish, burnish. I tell you what, let's just make sure this time. Yes, okay. Ears out. glue along there. Okay, and we'll do it properly this time. So I'm just going to lift it so that I know I'm on that edge, because it's black on black. Okay, I suppose ideally I should have done it that way, but I've done it now. So, to open it, I don't want that ridge because it will stop things going in. So a little bit of black tape. A little bit of black tape. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. A little bit of black tape along that edge. Quick snip. I've got just a little bit too much on this side because it wasn't straight. There we go. And then we'll put some glue on his ears. Now you can mitre those top pieces if you want. If it was a bigger pocket, I definitely would, but it's only a shallow pocket, so I'm not going to worry too much. And that's going to go onto there and onto there. Okay. And that's your other pocket on. So now lift, that goes in. Ooh, that goes on top. Right. Despite my best efforts, that is not quite going there. Right, okay. So when that happens, even though I've tried really hard for it to not happen, it has happened. So it's not going down properly. So I'm going to have to trim this little edge just a tiny, tiny bit. So I wonder if I can do it through the trimmer. Probably not, but let's try. So I'm thinking probably not, but it would be so much easier if I could. That's not the right one anyway. No, it gives me a start anyway. So I'm just going to carry that on with my scissors. Okay, this is why it's so important to keep testing it out. And even when you do test it out, sometimes you will need to come back and trim a little bit more. Okay, that should be fine now. So that comes over like that. That comes down like that. That comes over like that. And that's all in place. Now, for this one, I just cut myself a piece at 8.5 by 3. I scored it at 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch, and then I stuck it to here, but I wanted to do something slightly different for this one. So I'm going to do a waterfall. So I've cut myself a piece of card at 4 inches by A4. So 4 inches by A4, and I've scored 5 1/2 inch score lines. Okay, so 4 inches by A4, 5 1/2 inch score lines, so along the top there, and I've folded and burnished all of those. I've then cut myself 5 4 by 4 squares, and I've just rounded off the edges. You don't have to do that, I've just done that. So the first one So this is my piece of paper, my piece of card with the score lines. I'm going to fold those 5 score lines back on themselves. And I'm going to stick the first of these to that bottom fold. So A4 folded so that all score lines are now facing down. A little bit of glue on this bottom one. And I'm going to pop that onto there. I'm just going to, whoops, I've moved it. A bit overzealous with my burnishing, and I've moved it. Okay, so that is going to go on the bottom one. I've now got a little strip of card. It's about just under an inch, and it's 6 inches in length. It doesn't have to be accurate. You just need to have it a little bit longer, and I'm laying it on there, and I'm putting that over the top of the whole thing. So here's my flap. So this is going quite close to the bottom of the flap, and that's where having those curves are quite good, because I can see where the curve starts, and that's quite a nice place to do that. And I'm just gently folding those over. I'm not pressing them, I'm not burnishing them. I don't want them to be tight because it won't run properly. And then I'm going to put some glue on here, but I'm not taking it right down to the hinge, to the fold rather. Whoops. And I'm deliberately not taking it right down to the fold, because again, I want it to have that movement. So I'm going to bring that one over like that one over like that. Okay, and just hold those down. Now, normally I would decorate these first, but for speed tonight, because it's Friday night and you don't want to be watching me forever and a day, so I'm just going to put each one of these on. So the next space, and I'm going to put one of these on. Oops, sliding about all over the place tonight. We had our boiler repaired today, and it's now pumping out heat like I wouldn't believe. So everything's got a bit runny in here. And then this one. Okay, and then place that one on there, like so. And then the next one is going to go on there, like so. And then the last one is going to go on the top. And I would decorate the front with pattern paper, and I will decorate the back with cream card. Okay, so we'll pop that onto there. Okay, so that is going to go on to here. Now, what I want to do, she says, hopefully, what I then want to do is I want to create something that's going to come down and fold over and will actually be the pull for this. So I'm going to have to hold it that way. Yeah. So I haven't planned this out in advance, as you can see. So what I'm thinking is I need to cut this off, and then I'm going to need a piece of card. And I think I'm going to have it the width of this, which is 5 1/4. See, I haven't got this planned at all. So it's going to be 5 1/4 wide. 5 1/4 wide. So this is going to come here. This is going to come here. Now ideally I want it to go all the way to the top. So rethink, Sarah. Rethink, rethink, rethink. If I had it on the bottom there, then it would have to be 4 inches, wouldn't it? Right. Sorry, I'm muttering to myself here. I haven't given this much thought. I'm literally doing this live with you, and that's never a good idea, is it? I just had the idea in my head without actually thinking too much about how it was going to look. So 4 inches wide. I'm going to cut this off. Come on, Sarah, think what you're doing. Right. I'm going to stick that so that there's about a 1/2 inch space there. So that's going to be the first thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to stick, this is my 4 inch piece. I haven't cut it down to size or anything yet. And I'm going to stick it so that I've got a 1/2 inch between the end of my last doodah and the beginning of this. So what I'm wondering is whether to stick it to the front or the back. It's going to work either way. It might just look neater stuck from the back. In which case I can trim that. This is a tricky one. Or I stick it from there and then I just put a piece of paper over that. Let's do it that way. Let's do it that way. So, leaving a 1/2 inch. I'm going to do this. So here you really are watching my brain working, because I haven't thought this through. I had just had this idea in my head. So I want it to line up exactly. So I'm just going to fiddle around with it until I'm happy. There we go. So that is then going to sit onto there, which means I'm going to need a fold there. So I've marked the bottom and I'm going to get my where have I marked it? There. So I'm going to line my little mark up with a score mark, and I'm going to score that there, like so. And then I'm going to bring, ooh, you silly Billy. Okay. That's going there. That's going there. I needed to cut that much off the bottom here. I didn't think that through well enough. Okay, so I'm going to pull that apart until I get to the bit that's going to fold. Right. Ignoring all this horrible messy bit, because we can cover that up afterwards, I am now going to trim that to there. So what I've done is I've trimmed off, at least I'm attempting to trim off the bottom part. It just does not want to trim off. Okay, so I'm just going to get my scissors to it and just trim it. That's almost there. I'm just going to trim that off. Like that. Okay. This will all make sense, I promise you, she says, hoping. Right, so now it still needs to come down a bit more. Take that right to the top, it's still too long. It's still too long. I think I should have taken it just to that 1/2 inch. Right. Work out what you're doing. Measuring is usually a good idea as well. Just measuring. Okay. So I am going to cut that off. Quite a long way off. Let's just cut that. So I have ended up cutting that down. But that's so that I can now fold it where it needs to be folded, which is there. Which is actually where my crease was. So let's just line that up. Just make sure that's right now. So that's going to go on there, that's going to fold up there. So now I'm going to trim it to about there. Okay. Hopefully this will all make sense to you. It might even make sense to me eventually. Oh, I need a new blade, I think. That's it. Definitely need a new blade. Definitely need a new blade. Right. So now, when that is on there, that comes up there. When you pull it down, you use that to pull the whole thing down. Okay. So it's going to hold. What it isn't going to do is hold that in place, which is what I wanted. So it actually does need to be the width of that, doesn't it? If it's going to have any chance of holding everything down, it's going to have to be the width of that. Right. Okay. Because then it will hold everything in place. This normally all happens behind the scenes. So all you see is the finished idea when I've got it all worked out in my head. So this is 5 1/4 wide. So I'm going to make this 5 1/4 wide. Okay. And then that is going to stick onto that. So again, I need to trim this off here. I might trim it slightly less, but let's do it properly first. So we trim this off to here. and then that is going to stick to that, and that's actually going to give me a little bit extra in the way of strength. It's a bit too long, so I'll just do that again. It's only slightly too long, but I think it's still going to fit on the page. Yes, so what you're then going to get is a magnet there, and then a surprise there. So what I need to do is stick this. Now obviously this is a prototype. The real one will look much better than this. So that is going to come down like that, and it's going to stick in the middle of this. Okay, so now that's going to go like that. All of this will be decorated, so you won't see it, but that extra bit is giving it a bit of extra strength. That will come up with a magnet. So let's put a magnet on. Let me get some tape. Gosh, it is so warm in here. Our boiler's not been working properly for weeks, and it's been quite cool. And we came and mended the boiler this morning, and now it's really warm. I think it's warmed up anyway. Right, so one magnet there, and a bit of tape over the top. There we go. Bit of tape over the top, like so. Quick drink. Okay, another magnet on the top of that. Get some more magnets. Bit of tape over the top of that. I say everybody has their own way of doing magnets. This is just my way. Take that off very carefully. Bring that up. Close it down. Lift it up. A little bit of tape on there, like so. I'm going to round off these edges. So I'm going to round off there and there. And now, when I stuck that on there, let me get some paper, and we'll put some decorative paper on there so that I can show you what I want it to look like. So let me get some decorative paper. I'm using the last of my Fairy Boutique Graphic 45 paper. So this is going to need to be 7.5 by 5. So 7.5 by 5. So 7.5. 7.5 by 5. Thank you if you're still bearing with me. Okay. So this is going to go on to this top one here. Let's just quickly go around the edges. Whoops, and it's fallen on the floor. Okay. So So that's going to go onto there. Like so. So, and then just with your glue on this tab here, remember it is a waterfall and we do want the mechanism to work. I am going to unmagnetize that and try and get this reasonably centered. Okay, and give that a really good, more haste, less speed, so really good push down. Because I don't want to show it to you until I've actually got it properly pressed out. So now this comes up and holds everything in place. This opens, shows the nice surprise of a waterfall. There we go. Shows the nice surprise of a waterfall, and then it just closes up like so. Okay. So I think that's how I want it to look. Once it's all decorated, I think it will be fine. I just need a little thing on there so that you know to pull it down, and then you can pull it and you've got your waterfall. And then that just comes up and holds everything in place. Right. I'm hoping that that made some sort of sense. I hope it made some sort of sense. I really do hope it made some sort of sense. But what you've got then are your two sides. And again, you decorate this one with whatever you want, but you've got your exciting little waterfall there. Right. On that note, I shall leave you, and I will just say thank you so much for bearing with me tonight. And I really hope that you've enjoyed that. Thank you, Beryl. Yeah, I mean, you really got to see how my brain works on prototypes. I don't normally do that. I am normally a little more prepared than that. But I just had this idea in my head, and I thought rather than sort of mess it up, and when I want it to go in here, I'd do it with you. You're very welcome, Vicky. Thank you. Thank you ever so much, everybody, for bearing with me tonight. There will be a Coffee and Craft on Tuesday at 11 o'clock on Facebook, and there will be another one of these in 2 weeks' time. So thank you, everybody, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.